MX vs Atv Alive is a game that came out all the way back in May 2011. Holy shit, that's almost 11 years ago, man. I'm getting old. So in today's video, we're going to be giving this game a review almost 11 years later, because on YouTube there's really only 2 reviews that came up right away. So let's get into it. When the game first came out, I think a lot of people's opinions on the game were very mixed, and I think majority probably were negative on this game. And if you just go on the YouTube comments of the review videos, a lot of people were complaining about the lack of content in this game. Even if you buy all the DLC for this game, it still feels like the content is lackluster. There's lots of gear to choose from, a decent amount of bike graphics, but the main complaint with this game was the lack of tracks. And today that is still a big issue. I also forgot to mention that there is no UTVs, trophy trucks, any sort of thing like that. And I think this guy, Apricot Sims 516, however you say that name, he was very disappointed, and 10 years later, if only we could go back and tell him that he would never get his DLC wishes. Not a big issue for me, but at the same time, any sort of content, it just adds more replay value to the game and more longevity. I think MX vs Atv Alive has the best tracks probably in any MX vs Atv game. The design, the aesthetic, the scenery, the way the tracks work with the physics in this game, it all gels together really nicely. But again, it would be nice if we had more tracks to choose from. Another complaint that I don't really see a lot of people in the comments complaining about, but this is one that I noticed myself. The progression system, or the leveling up system in MX vs Atv Alive, is pretty bad, pretty poor compared to other motocross games, especially the ones that came up before Alive, like Reflex, Unleashed, etc. So you start off on level 1 and with a 125, and you pretty much start off with 3 or 4 tracks, 2 national tracks and 2 short tracks, and also a couple free ride tracks. The way you unlock more tracks in this game is not through a career mode or anything like that. You basically have to get to level 10 to unlock a few more tracks, and then you unlock a few more at level 25, and that is pretty much it. So you gotta do about 20 to 30 plus races just to get to level 10, and then 30 to 50 races to get to level 25, and then 30 to 50 more races to get to level 50. It doesn't sound that bad, but when you only got a few tracks to choose from, it gets really repetitive and it becomes more of a chore instead of enjoyment. The more you level up and the more tracks you unlock, the harder they get.
Well, it looks like you're not a rookie anymore. I hooked you up with some new tracks and even got you some new bikes. The bikes are faster and the tracks are harder. So take it easy for the first few laps out there.
And by the time you unlock the new tracks, you're pretty much sick of the older tracks because you've raced them a million times and you just want something new. It would have been a lot better if the progression system was like Unleashed or Reflex, where you do a career or championship type series to unlock different tracks, because having to do 50 races on a few tracks just to unlock a few more is not really fun. Another very shitty thing with the progression in this game, so like I said, you start off with the 125, but you don't get a 250 until level 10, so you basically have to do 30 to 50 races on a 125 just to get a 250. But also upgrading your bike, there's 3 levels to it. So the first level, it is pretty much bone stock, you have nothing on it. Then after you do a few races, you get it to level 2. It's a little bit better, and then again, do a few more races, you get it to level 3. And then it's fully upgraded, and now you are able to compete with the AI, because if you want to compete against the all-time AI in this game on a stock bike, good luck. And I also forgot to say, you don't unlock a 450 until you get all the way to level 25. By that point, you probably have put 10 hours into the game or more, so you can see how the progression system is very bad. You also only have 2 bikes to choose from and 2 ATVs. You have the Blaze 125 or the Takashi 125, and it's the same for the 250s and 450s, the Blaze 250 or the Takashi 250, etc. They did come out with actual brands later on in the game's life cycle, the Suzuki, Honda, KTM, Kawasaki, and Yamaha, but you could not purchase the Honda or Suzuki unless you lived in the United States, from what I remember. So the progression system is probably the worst that we have seen in any motocross game, and that is putting it behind Milestone's new MXGP video games. And the lack of content, again, is kind of right with Milestone, as not a lot to choose from. So those are really the only two things with MX vs ATV Alive that I think a lot of people did not like and still don't enjoy. There is 4 free riding maps in MX vs ATV Alive, but 2 of them are DLC, one of them being the James Stewart compound, which is probably everyone's favorite to this day. The other 3, honestly, going back and playing them, a little lackluster, but you can still have lots of fun with your buddies or just random people, because people are still playing them in freeride. I was able to get in a couple lobbies. I was able to do an out of the map glitch that is still not patched, which is awesome because back in the day had lots of fun doing that. So freeride, honestly, the maps are pretty lackluster except the James Stewart compound, but each map does have its own bonus vehicle, which is fun to ride on for a few minutes here and there. And each map also has a marker location, so you can jump to certain locations that you have been to, which makes fast traveling a lot easier. That way you don't have to just spend a few minutes going across the map, and it is kind of convenient. So overall, the free ride map designs are okay, but with your friends they are a lot more enjoyable, and the Stewart's compound is probably still to this day one of the greatest DLCs that has ever been released. For online racing, what I have to say about that is the connection is far greater than Milestone's current motocross games that have been releasing. There was no lag really at all when you were racing another opponent, only just in the spectator mode, but people are still playing this game, at least on the Xbox 360 or Xbox One, Xbox Series X version of the game. Not too sure about the PS3. So that's still crazy to think about, because the new motocross games that Milestone are releasing, those games are dead, and more people might even be playing MX vs ATV Alive, which is a little sad, but at the same time, it's awesome to see people still enjoying them. I forgot to mention that there is rider skills in this game, so every so many levels you unlock a new one. They expand from XP bonus, Clutch Master, which is the most overpowered skill in the game by far. It basically just gives you an extra boost every time you tap the clutch or hold it when you're in the air. Scrub Master, which makes the scrubs look and feel a lot better and quicker. Wrecking Ball, which allows you to move other riders out of the way a lot easier. Tank, which makes it harder for other riders to push you around, etc. Just a couple like that. Now let's talk about physics, probably the most important, well, definitely the most important thing to really any game, but especially these motocross video games. I think a lot of people honestly forget about this game, but for me personally, this might be my favorite one to date, especially coming back and playing it. The game just feels so nice, especially on the 2 DLC Supercross tracks. The game really gels with those, but even on the national tracks, the game just feels really awesome. The in-air whips are pretty wonky and not the best, but the scrubs, especially when you get them down, and when you have Scrub Master on, they feel absolutely incredible. Honestly, it might be my favorite scrubs in any of the motocross games, even better than Reflex, but the whips for sure in this game are a little bit behind. One thing I really enjoy about Alive is there is so much traction on the bike. You rarely slide out, you don't ever really loop out at all. It's just a breath of fresh air, especially after playing Milestone's new motocross games, because you slide out like crazy in those ones. So coming back and playing this, it is just super refreshing. The cornering does feel a little heavy compared to other games, but honestly I think it feels really nice in this game. Just something about it seems to work, whether it's the track design or just in general the physics. I think they just combine really well. I also enjoy the seat bounce or preload in this game. If you pull back on your right stick, you get the orange seat bounce, which kind of shoots you a little further and a little higher. And then if you click down on your right stick and pull back and release it as you come off a jump, you get the green suspension, and that shoots you the furthest. And if you don't pull back on your right stick at all, you just kind of stay a lot lower, but you don't shoot far at all. I think that was a lot better than Unleash's preload, where you just flick this stick up and down, and it made the skill gap in the game quite big, because if you didn't figure this thing out, then you're going to be losing a lot of pace. This game also had the reflex that MX vs ATV Reflex had, where if you land a certain way, you would have to flick your stick right, up, left, or down, depending on how you landed, to save your rider from falling off the bike. I'm glad they brought that back, and I wish newer games would implement this feature because it makes the game a lot more predictable and doesn't make it as random to crash. There is a track deformation system in this game. It doesn't necessarily form huge or big ruts, but it just makes the track insanely rough, and as the laps go on, your lap times definitely decrease because the track is pretty ridiculous, and I like it. I wish there was more ruts, obviously, but I don't think they would work with the physics. Either way though, the track deformation in MX vs ATV Alive is a good one. Overall, I think the physics in Alive are really very underrated, and I don't think a lot of people gave this game enough of a chance. After playing it for the last month, I think it might be my favorite one to date, just the physics wise and the tracks. It's definitely one of the greatest to ever come out, but at the same time there is a few things wrong with it, like the lack of content and the progression system. The store is still open on the PS3, but not on the Xbox Series X or Xbox One backwards compatibility version, in case you were wondering. So overall, I think I give this game an 8 out of 10. If you have never played this game, I recommend you getting it, mainly on the PS3 or the Xbox 360, because the DLC, I think, makes the game a lot better and a lot more enjoyable. And of course, my favorite part about this game, the James Stewart cutscenes.
Hey, you. Man, you was killing out there today. I don't think we can call you a weekend warrior anymore. Good race, rookie. You got me this time. You came a long way. But next time, I promise it won't be that easy.
These have got to be the cringiest and funniest things I've seen, but they're pretty awesome. So other than that, I don't have too much else to say. I think Alive is an amazing game, and I think you guys should give it a shot, because people are still playing this game online, and it's still really fun to play. So other than that, hope you enjoyed this video, and take care.